So, how do you use the new Glass and Stone Pottery ring mold? Hey everybody, Steph here, and I'm going to make this quick because it's freezing out here. I have a new mold from Glass and Stone Pottery out of Lake Stevens, Washington. This is that concentric circle ring mold that everybody wanted from Slumpies that they discontinued many years ago. However, Smunky, I don't know if it's S-Monkey or Smunky, but we're going to go Smunky because I don't know, did ask the potters at Glass and Stone Pottery, like I said, in Lake Stevens, to make them one. And as a result, they went into production and made a bunch of them. First batch was released a couple weeks ago, and I was fortunate enough to grab one. This is the 8-inch, and the 10-inch had some shipping issues, so I didn't get it. But this is the 8-inch. I'm hoping to grab a 10-inch eventually. And we're going to go into today how to prime the mold, how to use it. I'm going to use coarse frit and fine frit to give two examples and a little bit of my thoughts on how it comes out. I think you'll be interested, especially if you've just gotten this mold and you're not real sure what anybody else's experiences are like. So let's get started. Okay, apologies for the wiggle. I'm using a tripod I haven't used in a while. I'm going to use this area as a spray station. This is a little plastic tray from Container Store. These are boxes of dots. I'm going to put the mold right here and spray it. And before somebody goes, crap, Steph, you're going to get Zyp freaking everywhere. I promise you, I have a plan B for this. And that is weave paper from Bullseye. Don't mind the noise. So that's going to make a makeshift little spray booth that will work. This is a little sticker that says, "Thank you for supporting my small business." The only reason it is right there is I kind of like their little logo and I want to keep it, and I'm going to be very, very careful about ensuring that no frit gets there. So, according to the instructions in the PDF that came with this mold, I am to spray back and forth across and not let the mold get wet. And then we're supposed to let it dry, and then I'll show you what we do next. So let's do this. So that looks good. I'm sorry you're wiggling. Like I said, this is a really lousy tripod. It's from one of my original YouTube days. Okay, that's starting to glisten, so I'm going to let it dry, and then we'll be back for the next coat. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is make a little mark on this sticker, because what Glass and Stone Pottery Studio wants you to do is rotate this 1/3 and then spray it again. Remember to shake your zip each time. And then I'm not convinced, but we will let that dry and go for the third round. Okay, so the final turn. Final third. It's looking pretty good. I'm not 100% convinced, but I'm going to trust the process. My can is about 1/3 full, so I'm trusting it'll be good, and I'm willing to go through and touch up anywhere I'm missing, too. I do trust Stone and Glass Pottery's suggestion for turning the mold. I'm just not trusting my Zyp application skills. So now what I'm going to do is let this dry, and then we will go back over to my turntable and start filling it with frit. Okay, so here we have the Glass and Stone Pottery mold. You'll notice that it got white because when I was looking at it and I was tilting it like this, I could see that the sides of the ridges were brown, and I'm like, that's not good, this is going to stick. So I gave it an extra layer of Zyp, took it inside to dry, and then I'm now back with this. Now, I was thinking about what I could do to layer it and fuse with, and I was thinking about using a medium frit, and I'm like, well, I don't want my first cast to be just white or clear. That's kind of boring. And then I remember seeing in the group that Smunky had a option of a gradient where the inner ring is white and the outer ring is a color. And it's one color frit. You add a scoop each time, or a certain measured amount each time of a translucent powder. But I only have 2 translucent powders. I know, weird, but all my powders are opals because I freeze infuse. So I didn't want to deal with the blue or the purple. So I thought I would use a frit mix that I've made, which I call Hyacinth. And it doesn't look like much here because it's got some strikers. But what it fuses up, it looks like this, and it reminds me of, that's dusty, hyacinths in the spring, because they're all sorts of colors. I mean, you see mostly this sort of blue hyacinth, but you see them in pinks and purples and whites too. And so this is my hyacinth frit mix that I made, several months ago, and I've got a big jar of it. I have it in my store. But I really like the frit mix. So I'm going to use it, even though it's a coarse mix. I'm gonna still put it in here. But one thing I was reading, get the dust out of this, was opals, and this has a mix of opal in it, can stick to this mold. So one thing that Glass and Stone Pottery suggests is a light dusting of clear powder. So I got myself my trusty dusty tea strainer and my clear powder, and I'm just gonna do this real quick and go around it. That looks like a pretty good layer on the outer rings. We'll get a pretty good layer on the inner rings. And give it a quick dust of clear. And we'll see how this turns out, because I am curious and I really don't want it to stick and have to fight with it on the very first fusing. I mean, how embarrassing would that be? Okay, it looks like I missed some over there. So let's do a quick grab. You can tell the sun's coming up. I'm hearing birds. Alright, so we're doing a little thicker. Probably a bit thicker than I needed, but honestly, it's a learning curve here. I've not used this mold yet. So there. And I have the fill weights here. This is the 8-inch because there was a problem with shipping the 10-inch, so I only have the 8. That's cool. I'll pick up a 10 in the future sometime. So, the innermost ring is a 10-gram fill weight. I have my little jeweler's scale over here I use for copper oxide. And I've set it to grams. It's saying that my solo cup, which is a 4-ounce cup, is 3 grams. So we'll just tear it out. And do a scoop. And a scoop. And then I will adjust accordingly. This is actually the exact amount that we need, more or less. I went and measured it out while the thing was drying. So there we go, 10.05. Let's grab one more little tiny piece. 10 exactly, that works. We'll stick it in the little piece in the middle. Now, because I'm not going to contour this like Smunky did, again in that group, which I'll link below, has a great example of what you can do with coarse frit and it's kind of a cool icy look. And I'm definitely going to do that. I have some coarse clear irid, which would be really cool. I want to full fuse this and see what it looks like full fused. I think it'll be fun. So I'm going to want this to be as smooth as possible. Or at least as even as possible. And we'll just kind of move a piece around here and there so the colors are kind of evenly distributed. We don't need all the white in one place, or all the pink. That looks pretty good, I think. Trusty paintbrush. Next layer is 16. This poor scale gets so much use. It's usually inside, so it's like, it's cold out here. Alright, so this is 16 even. I'm going to use the little spoon and just sort of scoop it. This is where having this particular turntable is a fantastic idea. If you don't have a turntable, I highly recommend getting one. And if I remember, I will link to Glasshoppa's blog where he recommends the turntables. There's like 3 places you can get them from. Oops. I recommend going and adding them to the cart and calculating shipping based on your zip code, and then buying from the one that is cheapest. Because the cheapest turntable is not necessarily going to be your cheapest in the end with shipping. And that actually turned out for me that the middle grade turntable, because this is a 12-inch or a 30 centimeter, the middle cost was the one that ended up costing me the least with shipping to get what I needed. But a turntable is an invaluable resource if you do not have one. So I highly recommend them. Okay. Well, those are going to have to get flicked over. This ring is a little fuller. Good thing they're getting grabbed by the brush. Can I grab them? I don't have tweezers handy. Unfortunately, rounded them all up for a project in December and have not brought them back. Brought it from when I was teaching, but I don't think those little pieces will matter as much. Stick a piece over there. That looks pretty good. Okay. Next is 22. And I'm just going to go quiet and keep filling. Okay, so it's full now, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this is going to fuse. So I'm going to grab this fusing schedule, and I use this one because I'm using Bullseye. I'm gonna pull it up and set it in my Smeller's kiln and program this. And then one thing I am going to do is it does a ramp to 1100 and hold, which is fine. Then it does a ramp to 1225 and holds for 30 minutes, but I'm going to increase that to 60 because there are at least 2 strikers in this mix and I want to give them ample time to strike. And then I'm going to do the rest of this exactly as it says. I won't play with the rest of it, but because there are strikers, I am going to lengthen out the essentially what would have ordinarily been a bubble squeeze. I'm going to lengthen that out because that is also the striker zone for bullseye glass. But otherwise, it's going to be exact, and I will be coming back and we will demold things in, well, the magic of YouTube video, just a moment. Here. Okay, so this finished a day ago, but I haven't had time to fish it out of my kiln, and I wanted to do it on camera, so I'm going to be as surprised as you are. Looks cool. Sorry, I'm a little OCD about getting the logo matched up with me. I do think since it's lumpy and it's coarse frit, that you might want to hold longer. Like Glass and Stone says, you probably don't want to go higher. They suggest using the minimum amount of heat to get the desired amount you want. So I would hold maybe an extra 2 minutes, see what happens. You can see here, I had a little whoopsie. Oh, look, they're loose. Where they kind of hopped over together. So we'll have to see how that plays out. But let's see if they come out. Obviously, these two are loose. Let's see if I can move them. They're like a Stargate Chevron 7 locked. Everything moves. That's good. So I put my hand on them very carefully. By the way, Glass and Stone Pottery, if you're seeing this, the whole thing about forgetting your towel and not forgetting your towel, A+. They're all free. And they're cool. Okay, so they are bumpy. I like the look. I think it's cool. But I could see how not everybody would like the bumpy look with the coarse frit. You can see where I applied a bit too much zip. And it got dusty. But I can clean that off. I'm not concerned. Let's pull up another one. I think they look really cool. And again, my light's out, so I've got kind of darkness. I really got to fix the lighting situation in here. But they look neat. So there's two of them. Oh, there goes the pair. I'm really pleased. And the hyacinth is beautiful like this. I'm going to have to cut that off and then use a block, but that's fine. They're cool, and I think they'll make kind of a neat little sun catcher to hang for a first attempt. I'm not hating it. I do think what I'm going to do, I don't have the time today because I'm jetting off to work, but I'm going to reprime the mold, and I'll show you what the mold looks like. And then we're going to do one in just a bit of clear, medium clear, and see how it works with the medium clear, so we can see how that will fire. You can see here how the mold looks after it's been fired. Zip pulled up here. That could also be like Glass and Stone says in their thing, where a lot of opals were. Perhaps I disturbed the layer of clear frit. So I'm going to run this back over to my spray booth, prime it all up, and then I'll be back on camera to fill it with medium frit. Okay, so we're back for round 2. The mold has been sprayed. You can see I got a little piece of frit in it. And I'm going to use clear fine this time, but instead I'm going to do a bit of a gradient. And I did find that I had one more color. I had midnight blue. Somehow my gold purple that I was going to use disappeared, so midnight blue it is. So I marked 1 for the inner ring, and this is 6 for the outer ring, and we're going to do a gradient. It's not going to be a real strong gradient because I'm just trying to get this done. And rather than talk y'all through the whole process, I'm just going to speed this up and do it real quick. Show you what it looks like at the end and then pop it in the kiln, because I think at this point we've seen how the process goes and we are all more interested in the after effect than we are about me spreading frit into a mold. So hang on to your butts and your hats and we will get this done. Okay, this is about as good as it's going to get. I'm going to futz with it a bit more off camera and then slap it in the kiln, and we're going to see how it turns out. It's not as gradient as I would like, but it's clear powder, or not clear powder, clear fine. So again, we'll see how it turns out in the end. I'll pull it out of the kiln in the morning and we'll have our wrap up. Okay, so it's cold, so I'm going to make this fast because, well, I am freezing. As you can see, they're moving. They're dusty because I've played with them, but they're all moving. So let's get them out of here. So, mold, no residue. Didn't stick nearly as much this time. You can see here where I rubbed on it, but not as much of a pull-up of the Zyp as it did with the other set of molds, or other set of glass. So definitely recommend transparents for this. But they turned out really cool. Almost no cold working needed. That one had a small spar, I just felt. Like I can see a bit of the Zyp on the back of these. They remind me a lot of, this mold reminds me a lot of Color de Verre. A lot, as I throw things around, of Color de Verre's molds, in that there's not going to be a lot of cold working needed with these, which I really appreciate. One thing I will say about this mold, look how fun this is. Those colors turned out really cool. I didn't realize how much the Midnight Blue, the C on it's for my cousin, for Sierra. I didn't realize how much the Midnight Blue was going to tint things, so I added it, so these two are kind of a similar tint. But really, it's nice. It turned out pretty even. You look here, I could have been a little better about how evenly I distributed the frit, but live and learn. So, one thing I've learned with this mold, funny I got glass stuck in the center, that's okay, is when you spray it, don't just spray it face on, tilt it a little. Because spraying it straight on like this, which would be like this to you, and spraying straight down, you're going to miss these edges. So spray at an angle too when you turn and you tilt, because otherwise you're going to get lots of little lines where you have just this, you have the channel coated, but up the edge is still brown. And remember, these are brown molds, so they should be white when you're done. And if it's still got brown bits that you can see, it's going to stick. But ultimately, this Glass and Stone Pottery, this is the 8-inch round mold, makes fun things as I fling all the glass around. I can't reach the very smallest piece, so. It went on walkabout, don't mind me. But you get the point. So, I've made 2 sets. This one definitely more temp. This one did great. It's fine. I'm going to play with some medium and see how it works out. But if you get yours, I hope this little primer helped. And thank you so much for watching. May the kiln gods bless your fusing. Hey, it's Steph, and I appreciate you watching my video. YouTube will recommend another one down below, so if you want to keep watching, just click on it.